Hey you guys, welcome back to our channel, Marriage and Medicine. This week we wanted to kind of give an update and just share from both of our perspectives what it's been like so far since TJ is now an attending physician. And so make sure if you haven't already that you subscribe to our channel, turn on the notifications, that way you get notified every time we put up a new video. And you can also find us on Instagram over at Marriage in Medicine.
So just to get it started, ultimately it's been a great experience altogether. I can't lie to you. Again, for those of you that do not know, you do training and residency after medical school, and then after you finish your residency training, you officially become an attending. And what that means is you have the ability to work on your own, essentially. You don't have to have any oversight. You are the big boss, essentially. And so that's kind of the transition that I just recently made. I've been an attending for about 3 weeks now.
Yeah, not even a whole month.
Give it a take. And it's been great. That first day when you're out there on your own, it's just a different experience. For me, I enjoyed it. I felt much more efficient. I didn't have to run something by other individuals when I knew it was already the right thing to do. I just felt much more efficient with moving people in the emergency department in my field. Maybe different for you in whatever field that you're in, but moving people in the emergency department, getting them either out the door or admitted to the hospital was just a much smoother process. And so from that standpoint, from a workflow standpoint, I felt much more efficient. Of course, you're gonna have those kind of first day jitters and whatnot. You're gonna be like, when you hit that discharge button, I'm just kind of like, did I miss something? That's kind of after every patient, you're like, did I miss something? Could have done something better. But just understand, majority of the time, through your training, you've gained the knowledge that you need. You're going to do fine, essentially. And that's something that I had to keep kind of reassuring myself with. And the good thing about where I stay at is, or where I work at, is the fact that there's an attending that is usually right there with you, that has been doing it a little bit longer than you. So if you ever had any questions, if I had any questions, I was able to just talk with them, and they were able to kind of reassure what I was doing, essentially, if I had a question about anything. So from a workflow standpoint, it's been amazing altogether.
Yeah, and I've noticed a difference too, because like I said, he's only been out for 3 weeks, but
felt much longer.
Yeah, already you can tell there's like a difference between residency and being an attending. Just number one, obviously with the pay is different. But number two, I've noticed it a lot more with like having more freedom. So like more freedom just to do things, more freedom with finances a little bit, more freedom just like in all aspects. So we've been able to like, let's go on a day trip wherever, or, you know, let's go plan a weekend away to go spend time alone, just the two of us, or plan another little like family vacation here. Just, these are all things that we could not do in residency because we just, number one, didn't really have the time. You kind of are limited with what time you're allowed to get. And then number two, we just didn't have the finances. Like that just wasn't something that we would put in our budget to do because we had other things to take care of. Right. So that's been the biggest thing. Naya, our daughter, has definitely liked having him home a lot more. She's like even more attached to him than she has been.
As if she wasn't already just right on my hip all the time anyway.
Yeah, but that's been like, sometimes it feels like maybe things haven't changed a little bit, but then when I start to really think about like, okay, we've been able to go do this or that, and we've been able to plan out a few trips. I've started putting in like my budget as far as my spending. I go and get like monthly massages now, and monthly, I joined Orange Theory, so I get to go there like every month and work out. And that's, like I said, it's just stuff that we couldn't do in residency. Right. So I try to focus on the things that we can do now versus like, you know, what more I would like to do. Because, you know, in due time, all of that's going to come. But just starting out, we're trying to, I guess, pace ourselves a little bit because we don't want to just go from like what we were at and just like have this huge drastic increase.
Yeah, you want to give yourself a small bonus essentially from residency pay to kind of start off. You don't go crazy. So that's kind of what we've been trying to do, just trying to keep it spaced out so that we can still enjoy life, enjoy much more than in residency, but still be able to take care of other things that we needed to take care of as we made that transition. make sure that at the end of your residency, or throughout your residency, shall I say, you have been saving up some money so that you have some money aside for beginning as an attending.
Yeah.
That's something that everybody knows about, but just make sure that you do it, essentially.
Trust us.
Do it. Make
Do
sure you save some money. Yeah.
Because you will regret it if you do not.
Yeah, your first couple of paychecks will be spent, essentially, if you don't save up appropriately. The main reason is, of course, once you make that transition from resident to an attending, a lot of times there's a little bit of a gap, especially if you're going to a new place to work. There is a gap in your pay to the point where you won't have any income for a couple of weeks, maybe to a couple of months, depending on when your start date actually is. So make sure you have properly
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
And some people choose, like, when you graduate from residency, you usually get to choose when you want to start. So some people decide, like, I want to take a month off in between, or I want to take 2, 3, however many months off. So just keep that in mind too. If you plan to, like, take a break, just know you're not getting any money. So, like, you want to be prepared for that.
Yeah, and be prepared for emergencies as well. We literally had everything happen as soon as
possible thing.
As soon as I graduated from residency,
yeah,
everything just went to crap, basically. My day of going in for my orientation, I was like, I got this 2005 Corolla. I'm about to just ride it till the wheels fall off. I'm going to ride it for another year, so end up getting another car. It was time for that boy to be gone. But I was just going to ride it for a little while so I could save up some money. On my way to orientation, somebody hits me in the back. Car's totaled. So now we're like, all right,
now
cool.
we gotta buy a new car.
Now we gotta buy a new car. So saving up for that to kind of get that taken care of. Basically, a little bit later, TV just decides to just stop working upstairs. So,
yeah,
you
it
know,
just started like.
yeah, I don't know. It's about to like.
I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, I don't know.
So that's gone. You tried to fix it. No fixing it.
Yeah, no, it's done.
Got my emergency department
that was good
bill
time.
from when I had to go to the ER. It's a long story on that, but
yeah.
Got that bill in. You don't get a discount just because your husband's a doctor. So
yeah, so pretty much everything that could have went wrong it just started kind of just going downhill. But again, the good thing about making that transition is you know that you have a great paycheck coming. You know that you will have the ability to pay these different things back. You know you'll be able to come back above and do just fine altogether. But again, just make sure that you're prepared for those type of things because again, it adds up.
Yeah, I would say definitely try to plan however long it may be that you decide you don't want to, I guess I should say, however long you decide that you might want to take a break in between. To save up that much, if not a little bit of a cushion, that much month's expenses. So like if you want to take off 2 months, you might want to save like 2 months and like however much extra. But that's something you can't really tell. Like when you switch states and switch jobs, you're not going to really know 100% how long you might be out of a paycheck. So just try the best you can to kind of set yourself up there and just save for however many months. Trust me, you're gonna need that money. It's better to have it with like already saved up than have to use credit cards to survive until you finally get paid.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that. It feels bad when you're like, I put all this money on the card, now that paycheck comes and it's already spent having to go to credit cards. Like that sucks.
Yeah.
So if definitely possible, make sure you definitely get that saving in check. Another thing to keep in mind when you're making that transition to an attending is the environment that you're going to be working in. So for me, from an emergency medicine standpoint, I work in mainly 2 different hospitals, same kind of hospital, but 2 different branches of it. So one is basically out in a community setting. It's about 40 minutes out from where I live. It's kind of a more rural setting. You're going to basically be more on your own, essentially out there. You're basically just doing your own thing. You don't have to teaching responsibilities, you don't have to do residents, med students, none of those kind of things. It's basically just you and the patients, along with the nurses and all the staff and all that kind of stuff. The other place that I work at is basically the main hub. It's our level 1 trauma center where you're going to have all of the residents, you're going to have the medical students there, and you're just going to have all of the subspecialties and all those kind of things that you need. They are very different altogether, and that's something that I learned very quickly, but it's also something that I appreciated. When I went out to the community site, I mean, things move. Like you can basically get patients in and out very efficiently. And that's always different when it comes to those kind of places compared to a level 1 trauma center. Level 1 trauma center, it's just kind of clustered a lot of times. People are going to sit in the ED. It's going to take a little bit longer to get CT scans because you just have so many more people there to be seen. So it's a little bit different. Also making that transition to teaching residents and medical students, it's different. My first shift, I had basically a high acuity pod shift where you get all the traumas, you get the medical resuscitations, a lot of sick people essentially. I had to go in there and manage 2 residents and a medical student and a 4th year medical student. And so trying to do all of that when you aren't really used to it yet, it's different because again, you remember yourself, you were just a resident, you remember how it is, but your workflow is different than the residents that you have under you. And so it takes adjustment to basically kind of get to the point where you're able to help teach and help guide appropriately, but it's all basically with due time. The more you do it, the better you get at it and the more you feel more comfortable with it.
Yeah, you're just basically, I mean, obviously I'm not a doctor, but for you basically kind of with teaching residents or med students, it'll just teach you patients
Right.
also because that's not something you've had to do before, but it's hard, kind of like, it's like when you teach, like when I was a teacher and when I did student teaching, and as a student teacher, you're with an actual teacher and they kind of like supervise you and try to let you do things. But I know in the back of their mind, they're like,
You're
oh
doing
my
it wrong.
gosh,
You're doing it wrong.
if you did it this way, it would go faster. If you did it that way, like that wouldn't have happened. And so I feel like it's almost kind of like that as an attending with like a resident. But I think it's just because it's going to take time to get used to having someone like kind of under you that you're helping to guide through the process. So
yeah,
it's like a learning curve.
Exactly. So definitely keep that in mind when you get to that point where you're transitioning to that new job. So that has been kind of our experience as 3 weeks out. I love it. I love it so far.
We'll have to do another update.
Yeah.
Maybe like once he finishes his first entire full
year.
year.
I'll let y'all know how it is. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.